You're born underwater. No, not there. All the way down here on Fishman Island. Which sounds cool until you realize you're not some majestic sea king or legendary monster. Nope. You are a fishman. A walking, talking humanoid fish hybrid that should, in theory, make you one of the most dominant creatures in the ocean. Except it doesn't. The first thing you hear? Probably some slur from a human who thinks you're a freak in nature. The first thing you feel? The crushing weight of knowing the world already hates you. At first, life isn't too bad. You grow up in a fishman district surrounded by others like you. You're faster, stronger, and can breathe underwater. Basically a superhuman by human standards. But here's the catch. The moment you step outside of your little bubble, the world doesn't see you as an apex predator. They see a monster. Slavers, bounty hunters, and just plain racist humans are all lining up to make your life a living hell. If you're lucky, they'll just throw insults. If you're not, well, you better hope you swim faster than their nets. Your first lesson is that the world isn't fair. You hear stories about your kind being sold at human auctions like exotic pets, forced into slave labor, or hunted for sport. Even if you're minding your own business, people assume you're dangerous just because you exist. And the worst part, some fishmen actually lean into it, deciding if the world's going to treat them like monsters, they might as well become them. So by the time you're a teenager, you're starting to grasp just how messed up things are. You see your own people divided, some trying to build bridges with humans like Queen Otohime. You never paid much attention to Queen Otohime at first. Sure, she was your queen, but she was small, gentle, always talking about peace with humans, something you knew would never happen. Fishmen and humans would never see each other as equals. That was just the way the world worked. You had seen it with your own eyes. But she never stopped. Every day she stood in the streets holding out that same petition, asking people to sign. Everyone ignored her. Some laughed, some got angry, telling her to give up, but she didn't. Even when she cried, even when her voice shook, she still kept going. She would talk about a future where fishmen and humans could all live together, where children wouldn't grow up afraid. You wanted to believe her, but how could you? Humans had done nothing but bring pain. Then came the day the Celestial Dragon ship crashed. You had never seen so much fear and rage in one place. Everyone knew what those people did to fishmen. Kidnapped them, enslaved them, treated them like animals. You wanted revenge. Everyone did. But Otohime? She saved him. You couldn't understand it. Why? Why save someone who wouldn't have done the same for her? But she looked at all of you with tears in her eyes and said, "This is our chance." And somehow she was right. The Celestial Dragon promised to help, to take her petition to the world government. Suddenly, things started to change. More fishermen began to listen. People started signing. Even you thought, maybe she can do it. Then, just when it seemed like her dream might come true, it all fell apart. You remember the day clearly. The fire, the screams, the news spreading like poison. Queen Otohime was dead. Shot in the middle of the celebration. Her petition burned to ash. And just like that, the hope she had fought for was all gone. You stood there watching her children cry, watching her people sink back into hatred and fear, and for the first time you realized something. Otohime wasn't naive. She wasn't weak. She was stronger than anyone, because she had fought for something no one else dared to believe in. And now, without her, you wondered, would anyone ever fight like that again? But on the contrary, there are others sharpening their teeth for revenge. Like Arlong. You overhear Arlong talk about humans. He hated them. They had hurt fishmen for so long, and Arlong wanted revenge. He believed that fishmen were stronger than humans and that they should take over the seas. So he gathered a crew and took over a village called Kokoyashi. Arlong forced the villagers to pay him money or suffer. He didn't care who they were. He hated all humans. He was cruel and punished anyone who didn't obey. Arlong believed humans were weak, and he was determined to make them pay for the past. He ruled with anger and fear, and no one could stop him. But it was that hatred that had blinded him. He couldn't see that not all humans were bad, just like some humans before him couldn't see that not all fishmen were bad. In the end, Arlong's rage led to his downfall, and he couldn't escape the darkness inside him. But you just move on, without a thought. What else could you do? Meanwhile, humans get to sail the seas like they own them, treating the ocean like their own personal playground. Pirates, marines, celestial dragons, they all have their own brand of cruelty, and most of them wouldn't lose a second of sleep over ruining your life. Your first encounter with a human outside the district? Probably not great. Maybe you get accused of something you didn't do. Maybe you get chased off just for existing. Maybe you meet a nice human who treats you with basic decency, and for a second you think, hey, maybe not all humans are bad. Then you watch that same human turn a blind eye when their own kind mistreats yours. By adulthood, you've got two choices. Play along with the humans and hope they accept you, or embrace the fear and become the nightmare they already think you are. Either way, you're stuck in a world that isn't built for you. You can breathe underwater, but the land is where the real power is, and that power is controlled by people who don't think you deserve it. You want to travel? Good luck getting on a human ship without a fight. You want to live in peace? Tell that to the next pirate crew that decides your home is prime raiding material. Even if you make a name for yourself, say become a warlord or start your own pirate crew, it doesn't erase the fact that the system is rigged. The Marines still see you as a threat, the world government still doesn't care, the Celestial Dragons, they'd rather see you in chains. You could be the strongest fishman alive, but all it takes is one human with enough status to turn your life into a living nightmare. Just ask Fisher Tiger. Born a fishman, he grew up in a world where his kind was treated as inferior, often hunted, enslaved, and discriminated against by humans. Despite this, he didn't initially seek revenge. He was an adventurer, a free spirit who wanted to explore the world. But his life took a dark turn when he was captured and enslaved by the Celestial Dragons, the so-called gods of the One Piece world. For years, he endured torment, witnessing firsthand the cruelty that humans inflicted upon fishermen and other enslaved people. One day, he escaped and did the impossible. He stormed back into Marijoa, the holy land of Celestial Dragons, and set it ablaze, freeing countless slaves. This act cemented his legend as a revolutionary, but he never saw himself as a hero. He formed the Sun Pirates, a crew that bore the mark of a sun over the brand of slavery, symbolizing their reclaimed freedom. During his travels, he encountered Koala, a young human girl who had been a slave. She was traumatized, so conditioned by years of abuse that she always apologized for everything, fearing punishment at every turn. Unlike most humans, Koala wasn't an enemy. She was just a child who had never known freedom. Fisher Tiger and his crew took her in, treating her with kindness and care, even though it was difficult for some of them to help a human after all they had suffered. He personally returned Koala to her home island, risking everything to fulfill his promise to her. But in a cruel twist of fate, the humans of her village betrayed him, reporting his location to the Marines. Ambushed and gravely injured, he managed to escape with his crew, but his wounds were fatal. As he lay dying, Fisher Tiger made a final heartbreaking decision. He refused a human blood transfusion. Despite fighting for the freedom of all races, he couldn't bring himself to accept help from the very species that had enslaved him. His final words revealed a painful truth. Even though he had freed slaves, he himself had never truly felt free. His legacy lived on in Fishman Island, inspiring both Queen Otohime's peaceful approach and Arlong's violent, revenge-driven ideology. Fisher Tiger was a man who fought against oppression, but was ultimately broken by the cruelty of the world, a tragic symbol of the endless struggle for equality for fishermen. But by middle age, you're just tired. Tired of proving yourself, tired of explaining that no, you don't eat people, and no, you're not plotting world domination. You just want to exist without constantly looking over your shoulder. Maybe you found a place to settle down, a crew to sail with, or a cause to fight for. But no matter what, the reality always stays the same. You didn't ask to be born in a world that hates you. But here you are, making the best of it. By old age, you've seen enough to know that history just keeps repeating itself. Maybe things get a little better, maybe they don't. You've watched younger fishermen grow up with the same struggles, the same choices, the same uphill battle. And when your time finally comes, there's no grand farewell, just the knowledge that another fisherman is being born somewhere, ready to fight the same fight you did. Because at the end of the day, it sucks to be a fisherman. Not because of who you are, but because the world decided it should.